queued as they come in from the system, and then we have our own event queue.
Oh, that's what I was asking. When you say events, what do you mean? You mean
they're queue events.
Sounds like it.
So,
so this is the main. I mean,
main
queue
loop?
normally runs the main loop, yes, and there's a
sort of a
there's
session
a queue,
that
so
we
they
threw
come
in
in from
fairly
the
late
system, they
on.
go in the
It's
queue, and
what we call
so
birds of a
that keeps
feather.
everything.
So the idea is that we just got some people here. I'll make introductions. Speaker's not working? Oh, there we go. That's better. All right, so I'll start again. Since I'm not good at shouting. So this is a session we sort of put together fairly late on in the program. It's called Birds of a Feather, so it's supposed to be a fairly open discussion, exchange ideas, talk about what you like within Qt, what you don't like within Qt, and really want to make this as interactive as possible. I'm not sure how it's going to work with all these microphones, but we'll see, and we'll go from there.
Well, we could start off with a little survey. How many people here work for a automotive manufacturer? Okay. And how many people are making electronics for accessories for automotive? And how many people here drive cars? Fantastic.
Hey, should we do some introductions first?
Sure.
Okay, so Justin Noel.
I'm Justin Noel from ICS, Integrated Computer Solutions. We work in a number of different markets, including the IVI space for automotive. We have worked with a Detroit-based manufacturer and actually ship in their cars for the last 2 years, and are working with another Detroit manufacturer now on a new IVI system. We also participate in projects like the Geneva initiative, which is a consortium of auto manufacturers. I actually just wrote their new launcher that was displayed over at the all members meeting. And ICS has worked with Qt since around the year 2000, and in all sorts of different spaces, including the automotive space.
Alex Diebald, Pelagicor. Our mission in life is to put styling UX on the road, and we are working mainly with European OEMs on making that happen, primarily with Qt and QML to bridge the gap between designers and developers. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from the audience what you consider is missing, what needs to be improved in Qt when it comes to the car industry. I think of what's missing for the head unit experience, for the instrument cluster, head-ups, reset, whatever. So really looking forward to the feedback.
So I guess I'm next in line, so I'll just echo what Alex said. Yeah, we're just out here to hear from you guys. So my name is Alistair Adams. I've been with the Qt company since November, but I've actually been with Qt for a lot longer than that. And Alex and I go back to the Trolltech days, and we kind of kicked off pushing Qt into automotive. And Justin was there as well, helping out too with some of the demos that we're doing at CES. So they're all together. And of course, here is Volker from KDAB. He was also been involved as well. So I'll let you, Volker, just say a couple of words.
Yeah, so I'm Volker Krause from KDAB. KDAB is also with Qt since more than 50 years now, doing services all around Qt and in the automotive suite, in the automotive industry. And following that experience, I think 2 years ago we started the Qt Automotive Suite together with Pelagicor and Qt company. And yeah, I think by now we are the second largest commercial contributor to Qt. So yeah, just like you said, very interested to hear what your experience are with Qt in the automotive industry, what you're missing, what can be improved, so we can actually work on this.
So with that said, anybody want to kick this off with any questions, suggestions, ideas? And you going to walk over? I'll go. Okay. I need to walk around.
Okay, so first a disclaimer, I'm new to embedded apps, and that's probably most of my difficulty. But that's one of the reasons we chose Qt. Thought it was going to be a low-pain entry into embedded applications, and in particular streaming camera video through GStreamer out to a Q widget. And I thought that was going to be a slam dunk. Maybe it is, but it took a few of us who are not inexperienced a long time to get that going. And I would just put it to you, did I miss the boat? I mean, you hit Stack Overflow, you hit your sites, and it says go use the QTG streamer. I kind of expected that out of the box, and or maybe you want to blend your frame buffers, but am I really supposed to be doing that as an app guy? Is it the OS guy supposed to be doing that? So yeah, I guess Did I miss something on how you do that, or is that someplace where you can improve? Thank you.
GStreamer on embedded devices is a pain point for Qt multimedia. It really is. It works well where things are well supported, but on various boards with different GPUs, there's many different pitfalls. And GStreamer, in certain areas, can be very opaque as to what it's doing, even though it's an open source project. In some of our customer engagements, we've actually routed around GStreamer and worked with the hardware directly, even forcing pixels straight to frame buffers behind the UI and showing the frame buffer through the main HMI, where the main HMI isn't actually aware of the pixels being drawn for that video. It's also a very common way of doing instant reverse camera, is basically just take the feed from the reverse camera and push it to the back frame buffer and lower the UI. Also allows you to get reverse camera immediately on boot.
Yeah,
but it's painful, and that's something that we should work on.
Yeah, and I mean the API usually is not optimized for the just show me a video case, right? It's optimized for a lot more complex scenarios you can build with GStreamer, like video vaults and all of the stuff you don't need in cars. And yeah, of course, performance and integrating it with like the specific decoders you have on the hardware, that's indeed always painful, yeah. So indeed something to improve.
Hi. In looking at Qt Automotive, I see it's based on the Yocto project. But for me, just coming into it, like the gentleman said in the back, there seems to be a disconnect. So, am I expected to get Yocto installed in my system and then bring my Qt into it? Can you explain your relationship with Yocto, please?
Maybe I take a start and you fill in. Well, I think from our experience, it's very important to approach projects, specifically automotive projects, from silicon to pixel, to work closely with the hardware vendor and then to take control of the entire software stack. And I think the link to Yocto probably comes a bit from also the work with the Genevi Alliance, where Genevi compliant Linux stacks are based on Yocto. And actually, I think connecting it maybe back to the first question, I think if you take this holistic approach and take a vertical slice through the entire stack, then that's actually something you can really optimize and work with silicon vendors, work on the driver level, work on the user land, work with Qt. I think such a holistic approach is required, and I think it's actually, from a Qt perspective, good that we cover that part of the stack as well.
Yeah, I mean, the reason we have Yocto in there is it's, I think, the most common platform we see on embedded Linux-based projects, but it's by no means mandatory, right? So it's basically just instructions in there how you build the Qt-related parts on that platform. But you can do that on any other Linux-based system, or we also have it on QNX, right? So we just selected it because it's the most common platform we encounter, I think.
Yeah, I second that one. I mean, an AGL as well is also basing everything on Yocto, so that's what most of the industry seems to be using at the moment, at least in automotive.
Yeah.
That's based on Yocto too, yeah.
Yeah, so it is important to once again point out it's not required that you use the Yocto build system with the modules for Qt. You could build them outside of in your own build system that may already pre-exist for your board.
Oh, yep.
Hello, guys. So I guess my question is along the lines of the QML APIs for some of the system UI elements. A lot of our HMI developers, not being usually familiar with C++, just going into the QML side of things, find it difficult to figure out how to use some of these new features like the IPC protocols and whatnot. And some of these are yet to be exemplified in, say, the Neptune UI. I know it's kind of a polished piece and, development versus documentation, but is that coming down the pipeline sooner than later maybe to kind of expose some of those points.
Yeah, I think documentation is something we are working on. I mean, this is related to the Qt Application Manager, right, which is a fairly new Qt module, and it's under very active development, mainly by the team from Pelagicor.
Yeah, it's a very fair point, and point taken, and I think it's very high on our priority list to get documentations, examples, and all that in place. Yeah.
But in terms of feature coverage in the application manager, is that covering what you have in mind there, or are you also missing like functionality in there?
For the most part, it seems, it seems pretty complete in terms of kind of feature set for the most part. We're able to, figure out what we need to do at any point in time. But it does usually require the HMI developers will come to me for something system UI related. And then I find myself occasionally digging directly into the source code to kind of figure out what the usage should look like. And we're actually kind of having some problem with IPC and multi-process specifically right now. And I don't know if that's something that our HMI developers have kind of missed a piece on in terms of, checking ready first for dbus connections. So just that kind of thing, really.
Well, I think likely it's something that's missing in the documentation, and not something that you are doing wrong.
Yeah.
Anyone else got anything? Yep. Oh. Okay, Dave.
Speaking of the Neptune app demo, I noticed it loads everything as a flat file, not as a resource. Is that best practice, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think that depends a bit on your file system and your storage, what is really the most performant way. Usually using separate files is much easier during development because you can just swap them without having to recompile everything. The QResource approach compresses them, so that can have runtime advantages, but that's something you probably want to measure on your target system to see if like the memory and decompression cost is worth the time you save on I/O transfer. So I would make that a measured case-by-case decision. But during development, single files is a lot faster and easier.
Okay.
What can we expect in 2.0?
Okay. Well, so 2.0, I mean, well, we don't have a Qt yet. The next one's going to be 1.1, and then we'll probably go 1.2 after that. But so that's the next ones. But really, the big focus right now on the Qt Auto is just streamlining the development process with an emphasis on making it really quick and efficient to actually develop and build applications for systems.
Yeah. And the nice thing about the modules in Qt in general, they're modularized and vertical. So new features and libraries can be added without disturbing code that we require like such a large version number as 2.0. So as they add Qt speech and all these extra libraries, it's fairly stable.
Maybe just to quickly add to that, if we look at what's really required in the market, I think in addition to the documentation and the basics we have to get right, it's definitely 3D is one of the topics I think we should discuss for instrument clusters specifically. So not only car visualization, but what you can do with 3D on the instrument cluster. And then if we look at the trend of converged ECUs that you run head unit and instrument cluster and head up and whatnot from one ECU, I think that are to me two big trends that we need to touch and cover in upcoming releases.
Well, one more thing, is there any chance of getting a wiki page? Because right now you just have a mailing list, so if you want to look for a best practice, you got to search through 6 months.
I'm sure, Alistair, you can fix that.
Yeah, I see, very easy. We could create a wiki page really easily. Then the question is just bring content in there, but yeah, we can do that. There's a wiki.qt.io. We can put something up there. Just got a question.
And I think the best practice stuff, that is the idea is to bring that into the normal documentation. So once we actually have the content in there, it's hopefully in Assistant or in Creator integrated in the documentation.
I was looking at the Pelagicor booth last night, and that they have a demo of Qt Automotive there, right? It seems like that's more for integration into the vehicle. Would that be a correct assessment? Qt Automotive is intended to be a replacement in the vehicle, speaking directly to the vehicle, whereas it maybe wouldn't be as good for a dash-mounted device that would be monitoring the vehicle. That's kind of the impression that I got.
Correct. It's targeting an ECU that is embedded in the car. So from our perspective, we are talking primarily to car manufacturers and tier 1 suppliers who build the silver box that then goes into a car.
Great, great.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a suite of tools that were intended for use with automotive. This is actually an automotive interface. So,
it's primarily, I think maybe one of the feature areas are, of course, then connectivity to mobile devices that we'll touch as well. But the target audience is car manufacturers and suppliers. That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of things in the Qt toolkit that will also be right up your alley. Like while the Qt serial bus with the CAN interface is part of the standard collection of Qt libraries. You can use Qt Wayland to do multi-process on your box, so that you can run different applications and layer them rather than a single process, which could be an advantage. So there's still a lot of things that you could use, even without the tight integration with the car.
Any recommended IPC mechanism for Qt Automotive? And any thoughts on Qt Remote Objects?
Yeah, I think there's Qt Remote Objects is coming from Detroit-based car manufacturer, contributed upstream. I think their motivation was to have something that works both on QNX, on their target platform, as well as on all the development platforms, because dbus is a bit tricky to deploy on Windows. I think in the Linux world, we see a lot of dbus or other custom in-house systems. I think anything that roughly matches the QObject functionality, so exposing objects, properties, change notifications, signals and slots, any of those basically work because you can map them nicely to QML API. They all have their specific features and advantages and disadvantages. Like Remote Object has some higher level support for remoting entire abstract item models. That's something you, for example, don't find in dbus. But
explain for everyone what Remote Objects is?
Yeah, Qt Remote Objects. That's a playground module on Qt Garrett, which is providing a purely Qt-based IPC mechanism. So transport is anything that is a QIO device. Serialization is done with data stream, and the basic model is serialize a QObject and send it into a different process. So
I think the way it was explained to me, I don't know if this would help, but is that if you have two different boxes or two systems that are separated, then if you have an object on one and it's connected via remote objects to another, what you do on that object will appear on the other one just magically. So it's
right. And I mean, this is especially easy to use from within QML, because the fact that the object is dynamic and remote, you don't really notice this. It has the properties cached locally, so this is a very easy way to get like a backend logic or vehicle data into the QML process.
Remote Objects is a persistent publish-subscribe system versus something like dbus, where you'd have to make the extra call to keep in sync and subscribe to the event.
Yeah, I mean it's explicitly designed for remoting QObjects, so it has like the property cache built in, and it works nicely together with QML and has the higher level things like the abstract item model support. It's in production use not just in automotive, so that's something you can use. But dbus works just as fine.
And that was donated by Brent Stottlemyre from Ford Research, who's floating around here somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
So my next question would be related to kind of the plugins, the types that are registered by the appman process. So currently right now they're registered on runtime when the appman is deployed. So when you're writing the QML, again with the HMI development team and the system UI layer, they're not getting, you know, that code completion that they want. The types are not turning green, getting them, you know, that warm fuzzy feeling. So one thing I'd considered was kind of breaking them out and kind of installing them as their own kind of plugins. Is that maybe something that is in the pipes already for you guys, or?
Yeah, I think this is mainly an integration thing in the installer. I'm not sure if you actually have the Automotive Suite installer or if you have built the individual parts yourself, which might bring some of
be the problem there.
The problems. Creator definitely supports custom QML plugins and auto-completion for this, so you just need to have the metadata installed in the right place.
Yeah, it just doesn't do it off the open source kind of, you know, make install process.
Right. Yeah, I think you need to run this QML plugin dump thingy on it, right, and put the meta file that comes out of it in the right place so Creator finds it. The final installer is supposed to do this. Yeah, if you build it yourself, you need to manually import that in Creator.
Okay, plugin dumps are good.
Creator is supposed to support that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Question over here.
My question is very quick. For these graphic designers that are working their way up to UX, as you know, you can kind of see the advertising market kind of going down because of social media and social media marketing and stuff like that. Do you guys see to open up the designer mode to a little bit more easygoing for these graphic designers coming up that are basically starting off learning C++ and stuff like that? Because I know for the smaller teams, like it would be nice to design everything, put stuff together in Qt with transitions and all that stuff, and then hand it over to the programs to put all the logic in there. Do you guys see kind of opening it up to make it a little bit more easier for these guys to go in there and do that?
Yeah, I think there's the PNG Express you were talking about that fits in there.
Yeah, the only thing about the PNG Express, it doesn't really work with Illustrator.
Okay. Do you want to comment on the PNG Express? I can comment on the Creator tooling.
I'm saying not as far as cutting up splicing up the images and all that. I'm saying is taking everything in there. So let's say if I want to use Creator or the design mode and whatever the presets already in there, you can use like knobs, swipes and stuff like that. You start off with just throwing those in there, whatever Qt gives you, and then you want to go in there and add your own graphics to it. I know when I'm in there trying to go in there and understand that, it kind of gets a little confusing and more of a headache to go in there and switch the graphics out, because I know you have to go into code. I think it's like 2 or 3 areas you got to go tell it what to grab these images from and stuff like that. I was just curious if you guys are trying to open that up a little bit easier for these graphic designers out there.
Yeah, the Qt Creator team is spending a lot of effort on improving the graphic designer. I mean, this is not just a problem for automotive. That's a general challenge for anyone working with QML. It's not an easy problem to solve, so there's quite some effort going in there.
And also submit any of your ideas that you have or trouble that you run into, because you know, sometimes as C++ coders, we do get a little pigeonholed in what we think the world should be, and you have a much different view of the world. So please contribute and tell us what the problems are, and we can make the visual designer better.
I have actually a lot, so yeah, I will.
Yep. And there's people from the Creator team here, like Ulf Hermann. I think he had a talk earlier. Grab him and show him exactly the problems you run into.
Because I'm falling in love with Qt. I just want to get there and what's the best practice. And I was doing everything in one XML, and everyone's like, no, you need to separate the XML. So it's just like problems like that. It's just harder for us to understand that right away. And there's really not even good documentation out there. I mean, we can watch these YouTube videos, but it can go right over our heads sometimes. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh. Hello. I want to ask a simple, some kind of stupid question. I'm just a boy, a step out of my university, and I found that it is my first time to the summit, and I found there is so many projects, so many companies focus on automotives using Qt. So my question is, how can I start to learn about developing applications on automotives? What's the main differences from this field with the traditional PC developing, and should I need a real car to start up my developing, or I can use some technology like simulation, etc.? Thanks.
I think you definitely don't need a car. I don't drive a car, and I'm responsible for automotive in QtWS, so it works without a car. But yeah, I think there's some specifics to the interaction. I think people like Ben can tell you more about that. Apart from like the actual software development, it's mostly embedded development, touchscreen based UI, right? So you can do a lot of that on a normal laptop.
Yeah, where things get really different is, of course, down on the wire level. You know, cars are built much differently than most embedded devices. Up on the higher level, the cars have a much different user experience requirements because you have a driver that can't be distracted, but you have a passenger that wants a fancy UI. So there's some interesting things on that design level. But that guts in the middle is a lot like developing you know, embedded Qt solutions for other things, whether it's, you know, coffee makers or UPSs or ventilating machines.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get started, get a Raspberry Pi and work on QML on a touchscreen there, right? So it can be as easy as that to learn the embedded Linux stack and the QML touchscreen UIs on that, and learn to handle the resource constraints on embedded targets and so on.
So it's kind of like developing embedded application, right? So I can buy a board, then I can do some embedded programming.
Yeah.
Just you know, some technology like dbus or CAN. This is the differences. These are the differences.
I mean, even most of the actual development projects happen on off-the-shelf development boards, because the actual final car hardware is often very hard to get to. At least for us on the outside as the suppliers, right? So it's probably different for the people actually working in the car company. But even that, it takes time until they have like the final hardware. So you can, like, at least as you said, the guts in the middle, that you can do on arbitrary embedded hardware, basically.
And maybe join with one of the car companies here in the Valley. And then you even get a car, you know, to test it out.
There's actually in the Valley, there's meetups for automotive enthusiasts, as well as Ford Research actually has a meetup that they have with the OpenXC, which is a toolkit for enthusiasts that want to interact their software with Ford cars. So you should look into that. It's not Qt automotive related, but it's a fun thing to do.
Okay, we're over time. Thanks everyone for the questions, and great conversations. Thanks.